Welcome, everybody, to both sides of the conversation. I'm John Henry, Executive Director. Today is Sunday. So, you know what that means? We're going to have another Sunday conversation as we just ended our relationship series. Today, we are getting back into the business of what's going on in community and what's going on around the city and around the Bay. It's a lot of things going on. So, I'm excited to be here on this Sunday. Y'all know every Sunday at 4 p.m. we are here. We're live all of our social media handles on YouTube, on Facebook. Check us out. Be a part of today's conversation. If you want to get involved, go ahead and put some messages, some information, comments in the chat, as we will have two phenomenal guests here, community pillars, community leaders in touch of what's going on. We got a lot of things, community, that we got to wrap our arms and minds around as we are in these trying times in the community. And again, very important conversation today. So I'm excited about today's conversation. Lastly, just want to say thank you to all of the community folks that's been continuing to reach out, uplifting me in prayers and family. As we all know, the tragic situation that took place last week. Again, we are here. We will have the town hall meeting with the police chief tomorrow at the Southeast Community Center. I know last week they had a virtual town meeting for community to update community of what took place. I know a lot of people are still frustrated, upset. Again, we got some real things that we need to be frustrated, upset when we talk about the systems, the things that we need to dismantle that's not working in our community. Some of the nonprofit organizations, some of the city departments, some of the programming that's happening in our city that's not working. We got to address it. That's where I want community to focus their attention to how do we bridge these gaps and how do we figure out these issues that's not working in our community that still comes back to bite us in our community. When we talk about mental health, okay, in this city, in this country, the highest priority of this land that we got to really focus on and make sure that we are investing because mental health is a tragic issue that's impacting our community and need to be addressed. So with that being said, thank you all for tuning in today. It should be a great conversation. I know my folks in D-10, they'll be logging in. I know a lot of folks are out celebrating at the Sam Jordan's annual block party. Very nice. Want to give a shout out to all of the family, Ruth, and all of the community partners who came together to continue to make sure that we have things positive happening in our community. So much tragedy, okay? It was a violent weekend in San Francisco, violent weekend across the Bay Area. When we talk about this issue of gun violence in our community, it is on the top of the list of fires that need to be put out. All right, community is not safe in our community, okay? The level of lawlessness, the level of disregard to human life and the folks and property is at an all-time high. And I'm going to say this to the community, all right, especially to our mothers and fathers and community leaders that's working with our young people. The amount of assaults being taken place across the city and across the Bay Area on our elders is not acceptable. I don't care the race. I don't care who they are. All right. We are not supposed to be preying on the elders of the community, young people. All right. We got to find ways to support them and get them resources. We cannot have the elders of our community afraid to go shopping, afraid to come out their houses because young people are preying on them. It is tragic when we see these events continue to pop up in our community. And we're going to do our part to keep working with these young people, keep working with the community organizations. More has to be done. We need resources for the community. But again, I will not stand for anyone praying, attacking, robbing elders in our community, anyone at that matter, but our elders, especially the young people. We got work to do, community families. We got to talk to our young people. This is not okay in our community, the level of assaults and attacks that are happening on our elders in the community. So again, we got work to do, and we're gonna keep doing our part to make sure that we involve and we work with our young folks in the community. But these tragic situations that keep popping up has to come to an end in our community. So with that being said, Brother Mark, you hear the voice, the Reverend. What's going on, brother? Talk to the people.
Well, as always, community, it's an absolute honor to be able to talk with everybody. Again, here both sides of the conversation, we are committed to uplifting and empowering the community. So I'm always glad to have the opportunity. Of course, Brother John, it's always good to see you, Sister Ayo, and everybody that's working backstage. And I know we've got some amazing guests. This is probably one of the more sober conversations, and these honestly are the ones we need to have. So I'm hoping that the community is tuned in and that we can actually push some ideas out so we can put some things in action because nobody's coming to save us. So we got to do it ourselves.
Man, that is exactly right. Thank you, brother, for being here. Sister Ayo, I know I've been gone. Y'all been holding down. I've been running the streets. How's it been? How's everything going?
I was just about to say, welcome back, Bishop. Good afternoon, community. Yes, we have some great things actually, with all of the chaos and disruption going on. We have some great events going on in the community this week, today, this weekend. We had a great turnout for the Mo Magic backpack giveaway. You know, both sides of the conversation were out there giving their support. And we have a lot of great events coming up this week for the back to school, getting our children back to school, getting them back refocused and, grounded, and in hopes of giving them a head start and giving them a leg up on this school year. So we have a great show for you guys this afternoon, should I say. And I'm just ready to get started. Welcome back, Bishop.
Man, I'm happy to be back. Happy to be in space with you all. Even though I'll be running around in the community, I'll be like, I miss my team. I get to yell and scream with my people. But thank you guys for holding down. None of this happened without you all, phenomenal folks behind the scene, and all of our volunteers that come out and support the work we do at both sides of the conversation. Again, give a huge shout out to Mo Magic, B Magic, Collective Impact for really impacting the community this weekend. Over 1,000 backpacks passed out to community, food, fun, prizes, and things of that nature. Again, as we are getting our young people ready to get back into this school year, and hopefully we can continue to encourage them to get excited about education and focus on the important things when it comes to the education in our school system. So I'm looking forward to getting back a part of that and getting our young people back into the schools. So with that being said, community, we're going to jump into our news and announcements. I'm going to pass it over to Mark and let Mark go ahead and bless you all with what's going on around the Bay and around the communities.
All right. Well, I will definitely get into the world news community, and I wish it was a blessing, but let's be honest, it's the news. First headline reads: San Francisco DA discharges case against alleged carjackers in viral crash. San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins' office has discharged the criminal case against a man and woman arrested in connection with a dramatic car crash at the Sanchez Street stairs, which was all caught on video. Kevin Nelson and Jennifer Bonham were arrested on suspicion of carjacking and other charges related to the crash. However, the case has been discharged for now due to the need for additional information and witness unavailability. The district attorney's office has not ruled out the possibility of filing charges in the future and urges anyone with information to contact San Francisco police. The crash involved a stolen vehicle that tumbled down the stairs, but the occupants fled the scene before authorities arrived. Also in the news, new programs offer relief from Bay Area toll bridge violations. Now, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, or the MTC, is introducing two new programs to help drivers with outstanding tolls, penalties, and fees. One program is for low-income drivers with toll debt, and other offers one-time violation penalty waivers to any customer, regardless of income. The MTC aims to address equity issues related to penalties and has reduced penalty amounts recently. Drivers with toll violations on Bay Area bridges or express lanes can apply for the Bay Area Toll Payment Plan. The second program provides full or partial one-time violation penalty waivers for eligible customers through September 2024. To qualify, drivers must have at least $100 in toll fees and violation penalties after receiving any waivers, and make a first payment to release the hold on their vehicle registration. The waivers are available to customers through September 2024. To get yours, find out if you have any overdue violations. Call Fast Track's customer service line at 877-229-8655 and pay all outstanding tolls and any DMV fees owed. Also in the news, 6 slain in shootings in the district on Saturday, police say. A tragic wave of violence has swept through the District of Columbia, with 6 people killed in 2 separate shootings. The first 3 victims were slain in Northwest Washington neighborhoods known for their vibrant nightlife, while the second outbreak occurred in the Anacostia area of Southeast Washington. These incidents add to an alarming surge of homicides in the city, which have already recorded over 150 killings this year. Officials and community members are grappling with how to address the escalating violence and find solutions to protect their neighborhoods. The shootings have left the community on edge, demanding immediate action to mitigate the rising crime rate. And finally, also in the news, Mexico finds nearly 500 US bound migrants in roadside compound. More than half were children. Late on Friday night, Mexico's immigration agency discovered 491 migrants hidden in a walled compound along a popular smuggling route east of Mexico. Among them were 277 were children or adolescents, with most traveling with relatives, while 52 minors were unaccompanied. The vast majority of the migrants were from Guatemala, with the rest from Honduras. Smugglers often use such compounds to hide migrants before they continue their journey to the U.S. border. In response to the surge of migrants, the Federal Appeals Court has temporarily upheld Biden administration rules that restrict the flow of asylum seekers at the southern border, requiring legal entry process for those seeking refuge in the United States. That's going to do it for the news. I'll turn it over to you, Ayo, for the community events.
Wow, that is so hard. But luckily, we do have some great events happening in the community today and happening actually right now at Sam Jordan's, the second annual block party, August 6th today until 12, from 12 until 6 p.m. at the 1600 block of Galvez Street, Sam Jordan's Way. There's live entertainment, kids zone, food vendors, and retail vendors. Is affordable housing a right or a privilege? This is the topic of the ENDC panel discussion on Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. Doors will open at 5:30 p.m. and this event is free to our members, students, and for special circumstances, and will be moderated by America Sanchez, the ENDC's VP of Policy Development and Advocacy. Join Rafiki at the back to school kickoff at Alice Griffith Community Center, Wednesday, August 9th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Backpack giveaway and back to school resources will be provided for our youth. They can utilize throughout the year, not just the backpacks. Pop-up by our family pregnancy pop-up village, your one-stop shop for family and pregnancy services. Join us every second Saturday for our community block party dedicated to providing resources and services to help you with family planning, pregnancy, and more. We can't wait to meet you and welcome you into our village. Shears Beauty and Barbershop presents Back to School Explosion, August 12th, 2023, featuring a backpack giveaway, free haircuts, food, fun, and family at 918 New Hall Street in San Francisco. Be Magic will also be hosting a backpack giveaway on August 12th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Now Hunters Point, 155 Jennings Street in San Francisco. Code Tenderloin's 12-week Community Health Worker Certificate Program. Classes begin August 14th on Zoom. Client-centered case working training, Mondays through Thursday, 5:30 to 8 p.m. Summer 2023 Employment Workshop. Drop-ins and walk-ins are welcome. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., June 5th, August 17th, 2023 at 55 Taylor Street in San Francisco. The African American Arts and Culture Complex is pleased to announce the search for a managing director to join their management team. The closing date for applications is August 18th. The Order of Malta Clinic of Northern California is looking to hire a clinic nurse supervisor in Oakland. Join the AALAA community for a panel discussion on Saturday, August 19th at 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. Come out, join the conversation, and meet folks at Plymouth United Methodist Church of Christ at 424 Monte Vista Avenue in Oakland. Chillin' and Grillin', San Francisco, District 11, Sunday, August 20th, 2023, at Ocean View Park, 650 Capitol Avenue at Montana, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. This event is free to the public. Come out for the 2023 Potrero Hill Day on the Green Family Day. It will be Saturday, August 26th from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. It will be located at the Potrero Hill Gym at 801 Arkansas Street, San Francisco. Volunteers are needed, so please register at the email in the comments. OMI Cultural Participation Projects, A Day at the Races, Saturday, August 26, 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Golden Gate Fields Racetrack Turf Club, 1100 East Shore Highway, Berkeley, California, 94710. Entry is $100. Cold Tenderloins Job Readiness Program, September 5th, 2023, 222 2nd Street, San Francisco, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Orientation, Friday, September 1st at 55 Taylor Street. Cold Tenderloins Free Coding Boot Camp, September 6th through the 25th, Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at 55 Taylor Street. New vaccination site for COVID-19 booster monkeypox antiviral pill treatment. Thursdays, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 330 Ellis Street, as well as Saturdays, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at 1221 Mission Street in San Francisco. The San Francisco Justice Project presents the San Francisco Museums for All program. Free or $3 admissions to low-income families in San Francisco all summer long. The Community Living Room, open all day, Monday through Friday, breakfast 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and grab-and-go lunches from 2:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. at City of Hope Cafe, 750 Ellis Street in San Francisco. International Shakeout Day on October 19th, 2023. Join in on the world's largest earthquake drill. Register to participate. Farmers Market located at the Southeast Community Center, 1550 Evans Avenue, San Francisco, every Thursday now through November 30th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. They accept cash, debit, and EBT. OMI Cultural Participation Project, The Lion King, Friday, December 8th, 7:30 p.m. at the Orpheum Theater, 1192 Market Street in San Francisco. OMI Cultural Participation Projects also brings The Wiz, Saturday, January 27th, 2024, 7:30 p.m. at the Golden Gate Theater 1, Taylor Street in San Francisco. San Francisco Human Rights Commission has a regular bi-monthly commission meeting on the second and fourth Thursdays of each month at 5 p.m. in the San Francisco City Hall Room 416. You can also attend via Zoom. Be a mentor in SFUSD. Join SFUSD School-Based Mentoring Program, Mentoring for Success. Sign up to volunteer as an individual or group mentor district-wide. Visit SFUSD. Would you like to promote your business, nonprofit, or community impact? Sign up for our Hidden Gem Show. Share your expertise on our Educational Thursdays. Be a panelist on our Sunday conversation. Keep up with both sides of the conversation's latest shows and community outreach events. Follow us on all social media platforms. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at bsotc.org. Both sides of the conversation welcomes individuals who are interested in giving back to their community to join us as volunteers. We value the positive impact volunteers can make and invite you to be a part of our mission to uplift and support the community. Both sides of the conversation kindly request your invaluable support for our podcast and community engagement endeavors. We cordially invite you to explore any of our donation links, as your generous contributions will greatly aid us in enhancing our program. We would like to take this time to acknowledge the Dream Keeper Initiative and its support for both sides of the conversation's programming. The Dream Keeper Initiative amplifies the voices of and invests in San Francisco's diverse Black communities to reform public safety and address structural inequities in San Francisco. Our upcoming shows this Tuesday, Hidden Gems, August 8th at 7 p.m., followed by our Educational Thursday, August 10th, 7 p.m. with guest Tanzania Carter. We hope to see you soon.
Wow, great community. Thank you for being patient, getting through our community announcements. You all know we want to make sure that our community has the information. They understand what's going on, because that's some of the biggest problems that we're trying to fix is the communication barrier, the resource barrier. And we're doing our part here at both sides of the conversation to make sure you know where things are happening, what's going on. With that being said, okay, community, I want to go ahead and bring up our panelists today. First, I want to bring in Captain Yolanda Williams, powerful sister. Sister Williams, welcome.
Hello there.
I still call you Captain. I know you retired, but I still call you Captain.
That's all right.
Go ahead and introduce yourself to the community. Let them know who you are, what you're doing, and about today, and then we'll get into what today's conversation is about.
Okay. Yes, I am retired Captain Yolanda Williams from SFPD, 32 years, and I am a community activist, as well as the second vice president of the NAACP San Francisco branch, and the president of the Officers for Justice Peace Officers Association in the Bayview Hunters Point. I've always considered it my responsibility to be able to speak for those in my community who are unable to speak for themselves. So I consider myself a reformist for the police and law enforcement, and I value my community, because when it's all said and done, in the end, I'm another Black woman, just like every other Black female in the city and county of San Francisco and in California. And unfortunately, I've experienced many of the mistreatments that have been documented by so many who are employees in the city and county of San Francisco. It's my pleasure to be here with you today, and I hope that whatever is said is inspirational for others to continue the fight and the struggle for justice and equity.
Wow. Thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to today's conversation and just excited to have this very important conversation for our community. With that being said, we're going to bring up our other panelist today. She's a community pillar. She's moving around everywhere. Miss Cheryl Thornton, where are you at? There you go. She's moving around. How you doing, Miss Thornton?
Hi, everybody. Yes, so my name is Cheryl Thornton, and I'm a community activist as well. I am a SEIU 10-1. I'm the vice president of our community health chapter. I am a COPE delegate, political delegate for SEIU 10-1, and I'm also the youth advisor for the San Francisco branch of the NAACP. So I want to thank you, John, for having the show and having me on here today. And I'm just here to help spread the word, to help educate the community about what is actually happening with the topic that we're going to be speaking on today, discussing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for being here. And I'm looking forward to the conversation. Before we get started, I just want to give Mark an opportunity to read the topics and the stats for folks out there who may not be a part of the Bayview Hunters Point community D-10. I want to paint this picture, just let folks know when we're talking about D-10, this is some of the things and challenges that folks are dealing with over there, just to give people that realm. So, Mark, go ahead and give us the intro and stats, and then we're going to jump into today's conversation.
Yes, sir. Well, today's episode touches upon a topic close to our hearts: the significant exodus of residents, financial institutions, and businesses in District 10. We're here to shed light on what's happening, what's been happening, and the underlying factors. The most importantly, how we can come together as a community to ensure stability and resilience. Despite the challenges, there are still proud residents who envision a brighter future for the neighborhood, and our goal is to empower you with the valuable insights on creating a supportive environment, uplifting local businesses, and preserving the vibrancy of this beloved community. As always, we are here to have an open dialogue about how we can change the narrative, and together, let's discover the strength and potential for positive change in the face of adversity. Community, let's talk about it, D10. And getting into some of the statistics, in district it is the district with the largest proportion of residents ages 0 to 17 years old. Over 2 times more residents identify as Black or African American, and over 3.5 identify as Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. And 47% more residents live below the San Francisco poverty line overall, and the district with the second highest rate of poverty in San Francisco. District 10 is with the second lowest proportion of residents earning a bachelor's degree. Visitation Valley has the third lowest property crime rate in San Francisco, and Pochero Hill and Visitation Valley have among the lowest rates of transportation injuries. Looking at Bayview's Hunter Point, it has the third highest mortality rate in San Francisco, while Mission Bay has the third lowest. Drug and violent crime rates are among the highest in McLaren Park and Mission. So with those statistics, you try to get somewhat of an analytical idea of what's happening in the community right now. So let's talk about it.
Wow, thank you for the stats. There you have it, community. Very real stuff that's happening. And today we can start the dialogue, start the conversation. We're going to need community to move in solidarity. There's a lot of folks who are calling themselves disruptors and calling themselves as leaders. Now more than ever, this is the time we need to work together in solidarity. Make sure that we handling all of our elected officials, all of the folks in the community that are doing community work that serve this community, to hold them accountable, to make sure that the resources and all the services that our community needs, or we start getting it, and we're going to advocate for it. But again, a lot of folks are leaving because of the violence, for the low financial support and economic boom that we have. There's a lot of Black businesses coming to the area in the corridor. But again, how do we, as community, how do we uplift these businesses? How do we circulate our Black dollars to make sure that this Black ecosystem is moving forward for sustainability? Because right now, if we don't grab a hold of it, it doesn't look like sustainability is going to be here past the next couple of years. So with that being said, we're going to open up today's conversation. Yolanda or Cheryl, you whoever want to kick it off, let's talk about what's going on. I know we got banks leaving, schools closing. There's a number of things going on in this community. Let's kick it off and have a conversation about what's going on. Oh, you got to unmute yourself, Yolanda. Unmute yourself.
Let's see here.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, first of all, I want to say it's disheartening to see what is happening to the Black community, specifically D10. When the first bank closed, which was Union Bank at 3801 3rd Street, that was alarming. However, we were advised that Union Bank's closure was to merge with the U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank was located at 3rd and Quezada. And then literally a month ago, one Friday, as customers walked into the branch, there was a sign that indicated this was the last day that they would be open in the community. So that bank closed. Then we've been advised that the Wells Fargo Bank, which is the last bank in the Bayview community, is closing. And it was due to close the last day of July. So literally, the residents of the Bayview Hunters Point have been disenfranchised financially from any institution that is within walking distance or bus transportation distance for those who live within the community. This is alarming. It is upsetting. And ultimately, now, if there's any banking that is desired by those who live in this portion of District 10, they have to go into the Mission District or into the OMI District to do their banking. Bear in mind, there is a Bank of America in Visitation Valley. However, that bank does not allow their customers to do business inside of the branch. Again, this type of actions are clearly happening in District 10, and it's not happening anywhere else. Yes, they're using crime and they're using other things as a reason for why they can no longer do business in our community. But again, it is an outright attempt to make us so discouraged that we have no choice but to leave that community and go elsewhere. And needless to say, the reason I became a member of the San Francisco Police Department in 1990 was because of my concerns about the limited service at that time that was being offered in District 10. And now it's become very critical. And it is time for those who live in D10 and those who are concerned throughout the city and county of San Francisco to urge these banks to reopen in this community.
Wow, very, very tragic news. When you was just presenting that to me, I think about our elders in the community. First off, sometimes having those banks in the community is the most convenient way for them to get through, to handle their business, dealing with medical issues sometimes, and not being able to have the capacity to move around like other folks in the community. That is like the number one thing that's alarming. And then it goes back to, like you said, when we're talking about economics and how do we thrive as a community, if you don't have financial institutions to bring resources to the community, we're in a no-win situation here, community. This is terrible. And we got to figure out a way. I know there were some other things that folks had said was a part of the exodus of this. And I want to dive a little bit more in and see if some of this stuff is actual factual information, or is it folks just spewing out information as a way to trigger community. But Cheryl Thornton, I know you have some insight and you want to jump in there about some of the banking and stuff that's going on in D10. If you would like to jump in, go ahead.
So, well, I want to say, okay, so first of all, online banking, this is kind of happening across America, but it's happening at an alarming rate in Black communities across America. And it's really about disenfranchisement and marginalizing people who are already marginalized. And I believe the average income in Baby Hunters Point is somewhere around $31,000 a year. So as they remove these banks, such as, the Union Bank, the U.S. Bank, possibly Wells Fargo, you're going to have these ATMs that pop up around the place. And a lot of people who are on government-sponsored income, such as SSI, Social Security, they sign up for direct access. And through direct access cards, they're able to, the banks don't charge them any fees for getting their money. So with these ATMs that are popping up in these banks that are closing, people are getting charged, to remove their money from the bank, and they barely have enough now as it is to survive in this district. But secondly, I would like to say that it's just not even in the proper Bayview Hunters Point area where we lost the banks. We lost the ATM in Potrero Hill, Wells Fargo, and we lost Iroquois Bank a few months ago in Potrero Hill. I think it was on 16th Street. So we only have Bank of America, and as Captain Williams said, that's only available through an ATM scenario. Wells Fargo, and sometimes the ATM doesn't have any money. The lines are long. It's hard to park there. So this is all we really have. And people who, and we also have a transportation issue going here in Bayview Hunters Point. We are transportation poor, and people that are coming from places like Alice Griffin, they already have to take 2 buses just to get from there to 3rd Street. So can you imagine? Okay, now you get to 3rd Street, you have to go all the way down that corridor to Wells Fargo to get to the bank, and you're suffering from chronic pain such as arthritis and so forth. So you don't feel like going to the bank. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna start to see more check cashing places here in the Bayview, and more ATMs that continue to rob the poor.
Wow. I mean, that's a big concern for me. I mean, if we don't have banks close by, you know, you're bringing our seniors and our elders to other communities outside, especially when you talk about the Mission district. There's a language barrier that can be a problem for our elders. You know, introducing them to other communities that we know have some of the highest crime areas. It's definitely unfortunate. And I think, you know, today when we talk about equity, you know, how do we also bring equity to our seniors and our community to do this online banking? How do we teach them about the cyber securities? How do we protect them of the threat of different folks can get into their systems and remove their cash if they're not careful? So I think there's an educational gap component of this that as community we have to do. And, you know, we have some issues that we got to address just on this specific banking issue immediately. I think we're going to have to do something simultaneously across the city when it comes to how these banks are moving. Now, one of the things that I read about the federal law about these cannabis clubs, okay, is some language in these Senate bills saying that federal support for cities who allow legal cannabis, they can't use the banking system. So I'm trying to see, have you all heard anything? Has this impacted some of the decisions of some of these banks closing around the community? I know in Southern California, this was a problem. Whenever you open a legal cannabis club, there's so much feet that a federal bank could be around or anything of that nature. So I don't know if you guys heard anything of that matter.
Well, I can say personally union, with the union, with the U.S. Bank situation, which was at Third and Quasada, the reason for their immediate departure was due to the fact that there was excessive amount of loitering by young people in the community, and it required a police presence during the entire banking hours. And I witnessed this repeatedly when I would go there to that particular branch to do business. So there was safety concerns and issues as to why that particular branch was stated to have closed down. And many of the employees that worked inside of the branch did not feel like they were safe within the community. So that was supposedly their reason for the closure. And it's unfortunate that banks are allowed to use this as an excuse. If there was no cannabis club that was in the area, that created a situation for them to have a need to move this branch. Now, as far as 3801 3rd Street, as far as I know, there's no cannabis club anywhere near there. Again, it brings to question what was the reason for the early departure. But I can tell you this: in the past, Union Bank, US Bank, as well as Wells Fargo, were constantly providing financial contributions and whatnot to many of the nonprofit entities within the Bayview community. But now that particular collaboration that we had with them no longer exists. So again, the impact is grave. And then what about those who had home loans with, say, US Bank and Union Bank? Now, if they were doing their banking in person and making their mortgage payments in person, again, our community is being harmed, and no one is stepping up to the plate to call it out and try and make some type of arrangements to bring some type of banking institutions into the Bayview.
It's definitely, from my perspective, isolation tactic. They're isolating and removing these big corporations to start that crabs in the barrel type of scenario. Just think about, so they're saying, yes, okay, I grew up in the neighborhood. I'm very familiar with Crusader. Yes, people hang out. Yes, there's loitering. Yes, there is toxicity and violence there. However, just think about popping up these ATMs. How many people are going to be standing in wait for these elders who have to, number one, commute via public transportation to go to these ATMs to just to make sure that they can either deposit or withdraw money so they can go and pay these bills that they have. The crime rate over there is already to the max, where they have little support, and the call time and response time for the police actually getting there, with there being a police station in the neighborhood, is ridiculous. So think about the crime rate when you take away these institutes for our elders, for the security of the people in the community. You're taking jobs, you're taking the security, you're taking that rest haven for them to make sure that they know they can go and pay their bills. A lot of our elders are not used to the technology. So this is another way that they're going to be backtracking and putting them 10 steps behind, because now they're going to be behind on rent because they don't understand these systems that they are implementing for them to have to do everything online. It's more than just their safety of their banking. It is the whole try to deconstruct and dismantle of D-10. When you go up and down 3rd Street, I don't recognize a lot of the mom and pop stores. I don't recognize even the community itself. Gentrification is a beautiful thing. However, when you are pushing our people out and forcing their hand to have to sell their properties, sell their businesses, and go to other places, it's no longer our community. And it is a big part for these nonprofits and these community activists who say they are so in and righteous and things like that. Not those who want to just take the pictures and do the kiss the baby. No, we need boots on the ground. We need people that are actually willing to do the work and put forth that great effort to rebuild in our community. That is what it's about. Everyone can say what they're willing to do and what the problem is. If you're not coming up with a solution, then you're just a part of the problem itself. These banks are just one part of a very grand plan, I feel, of them just dehumanizing District 10, taking away all of the faces that make Bayview Hunters Point, Bayview Hunters Point. They're going to just start calling it, oh, it's the Bayview now. With all this gentrification and all of these corporations moving out, we got to do better.
Well, I'm sorry, since I just want to definitely concur with IO. I don't know if we as a community, again, I'm in Houston, Texas. I don't know the D-10 personally, but I've seen this same pattern play out. I'm a student of history, and we know everything from eminent domain to redlining has been used specifically against our community. It's not like we don't understand that we're really not welcome here anyway. And it is a war of attrition. I don't know what it's going to take for us to actually get upset enough to realize that there's an economic war as well as a psychological war and the nutritional war that is being waged against our community. And we need people in every sector to not only have these conversations, but we got to get on code. Like, there's no reason why our elderly people, our own still living biological ancestors, should fear walking down the street in any one of our communities. We have to take back our own pride in self. Again, I know we live in a capitalistic system where money is the god, and that's all that the system really cares about. But as human beings, if we don't realize that we're under an assault consistently now and do something about it, to where, again, if there needs to be transportation made or safe path, the men and women in the community are the ones responsible. Nobody's coming in to save us. They are actively alienating us. I mean, we use the word disenfranchisement, but really it's a war of attrition. This is an old war tactic. If you want to wipe a people out, you cut off all of their resources and you starve them to death of resources, and then they're easy to go in and push around and wipe out. That's what's happening to the community. So the only thing historically that has ever worked against this type of attack is absolute unity and a harnessing of the resources and the people to have a strategic approach to working yourself out of it. We'll never as a community win anything back being disjointed.
That is so true. I feel that you're correct too, that this is psychological and financial harm and trauma, and it's perpetrated specifically to target the Black community, because this is really the largest Black community that is in D-10. And as the president of the Officers for Justice, we've been in existence since 1968. We've always done our banking business with banks in our community. First, it was Bank of America. Then we went to Wells Fargo, and then finally U.S. Bank. And for us to now realize that all of those doors have shut down on us, it makes no sense at all. But one thing I think it is imperative that we do is to approach banks like Chase and some of the other banks that exist and ask them to come into our community to provide us with the services that we so desperately do need.
I just want to add something to this.
Go ahead, sis. Go ahead.
There's the federal and state law here. They can close down a bank and not notify anybody in the community. And we have got to change that policy where we need to have notification that this is going to be happening so that there can be a town hall meeting about the impact. And right now, there's just no accountability. But the other thing I wanted to say is about a year or so ago, I was involved with redistricting. And it was really about this redistricting business. It was about really taking the community away from the Black community in San Francisco. And this is the last district in San Francisco that can be developed. They're not developing District 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, District 5 in the Tenderloin, they are developing. But all the other districts, they're not doing any building. They're building here. And so as you blight the community more and more, the property becomes more valuable because they can buy it at a cheaper rate, and these developers can come in here and build around us and push us out. So really, they're just asking us to leave. And this is why we're in a food desert, we're in a transportation desert, we're in a banking desert, and our schools are segregated here. They're underperforming, they're high need, and the kids have the worst outcomes in San Francisco. So we really have to look at the policies and change the structure. We can't do this stuff episodically and just continue to attack one thing at a time. We need to change policies.
I'm glad you said that.
I must remind you of another thing, John. Remember when the Southeast Community College closed? There was no forewarning that community college was going to close. That was promised to the Bayview community because we allowed the sewage treatment plant to remain there. Yep. They took it now from us. So where can, say, a senior go if they wanted to be literate in technology and be able to use online banking? It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, furthermore, I just want to add to what you're saying, Captain Williams. We have the worst educational outcomes out of San Francisco Unified School District in the state of California. And yet we are the only district that lost the community college here. All we have here in that community college is construction classes. And if you look at the trade unions, it's less than 1% Black African American represented in these trade unions. So this construction classes that they have out here, they're not here to benefit us. But yet we have the worst educational outcomes. A lot of our children are not prepared to go on to a CSU or higher. So they need the community college. Now you're telling them they have to get on a bus to go to they can get free city college, but they have to go over to free Phelan Street to get the classes or to another district. And so, it's just disinvestment in the community every which way you look.
So, I mean, I got a couple of questions because, I like to hear all what's going on, but we got to start coming up with some solutions. How do we reset this? Because I keep telling everybody that I think they think I'm a little out there, but I keep telling them there's a volcano that's going to erupt in San Francisco. Okay, it's already spewing. It's going to erupt. All right. The next thing is, how do we create this? Because if we don't do it now, we're just waiting for the end result of being drowned out. How do we get the accountability to our people? Because I hear the systems. I know we got system problems, but how do we convey the issues in our community and hold the folks in our community accountable? Because now there's a question of not only our community leaders, our parents, our organizers, how do we change that narrative and do what we need to do to change what's going on in our community? Because we can continue to point at the system, we could continue to point at City Hall and say this is the problem. I agree with you. We have to change policies. We need all of these ordinance reviewed, and the community needs to get involved. Okay. I wanted to look at the ordinance of these liquor stores. Okay. These liquor stores is causing this loitering in our community. All right. We have the most highest violence events in our community at these liquor stores, but we have policy that says these stores can't go away. And we have to figure out, how do we dismantle that? How do these folks get to keep the poison in our community, continue to be the problem of the community? All right. And nobody's doing anything, but there's an ordinance up there, and I'm doing some research. We're going to find out how to change this ordinance, because you got to change the ordinance so that things can change. But if people are not engaged and involved and understand what's going on, the money will always push the community away. All right. So we got some work that we got to do. While we have Shaman Walton in office, these are the conversations, community, that we should be pulling up, having with him. All right. How do we change the ordinance to remove these corner liquor stores in our community?
Well, Bishop, I just chime in here, because quite honestly, that's going to take a shift in paradigm. Again, they are incentivized to poison, pollute, disrupt, and divide us as a people as much as possible. They make money off of it. Everything from the pharmaceutical companies to the prison industrial complex makes money off of our being disenfranchised. So, to borrow from my church days when I was in pastoral ministry, there's a passage where Jesus is asked to teach them how to pray, and he teaches them the Lord's Prayer. And in that he says, "Let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." And essentially what it was the mentality, the attitude, the way of life that is done in our home country, which is heaven in the biblical context. Our job is to bring that here to earth and make earth look like a reflection of heaven. So from a spiritual religious standpoint, that is the same type of paradigm shift we as a people have to take. Just because we were born into captivity behind enemy lines in a very unfavorable environment or country or nation state or whatever you want to call it, it's basically a corporation where the only God here is money. As a God-fearing people, we have to return back to the mentality, the attitude, and the lifestyles to where even though they dump the poison in front of me, I have so much pride and integrity in who I am that my people don't do that. So I ain't going to touch it. We have to have that kind of shift take place, because going to them, begging our oppressor to change policy to benefit us, they're not going to give us back power. They're not going to do it. And if we think they are, that's an illusion. We have to take it upon ourselves to do it. We can't just, I'm not advising anybody to just go, crazy or willy-nilly and just be ultra militant about it, but we have to be strategic. We have to be self-sufficient and self-sustaining within ourselves, so that when we do go to them, we have some leverage to negotiate with. But if they hold all the cards, all the power, and all the money, all we're doing is begging for our oppressor to take their foot off our neck a little bit. And historically in America, that ain't happening.
But Mark, I gotta say this, Mark. I agree with you. I hear you. I agree with you. But I think we have some maneuvering that we could do policy wise, right? But I think it's back to us educating our community to get involved. I think we have the people, but I think, we don't have enough courageous people because they don't feel the value of all of the people. So I think we have some people who are trying to make those moves. You got Yolanda, Cheryl here, disruptors of the system, trying to dismantle systems. But if the community doesn't believe in it, how do we get buy-in? Because I think that's what's happening. I think people are feeling the same pressure, the frustration, but they don't have the buy-in. They don't understand the goal. So everybody's just kind of like, I don't want to get involved because there's no end. But we got to figure out how do we make that a reality? Because again, if we don't, we're going to be pushed into this. I keep telling the community folks, as much as we try to distance ourselves, the way this system is going to push us together. So do we be pushed together in the sense that we can move as a unit, or do we push together in a way that's going to cause our ultimate demise? Because that's where we headed right now. You can't keep putting it. Go ahead, Cheryl.
Well, I just wanted to add, I'm sorry to cut you off. You know, when you say accountability, our faith-based leaders, they should be out here ringing the bell right now about all this stuff that's going on in the Bayview, the lack of resources available, the banks that are closing. You know, I mean, people listen to them. They have belief. A lot of the community members have belief in them, but the ones that are not even faith-based, we have to have volunteers in the community that are willing to hold educational sessions to get people to understand what's going on, because you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And so they play on that. And then they go and get the weakest link in our community to go and be a gatekeeper, to do the wrong thing against the community. They think that they're helping the community, but they're actually harming the community, because those policies that they're upholding are the very policies that are killing us. So we just need, we have to get more. We need more leaders. We need to create leaders. We need a leadership program here in District 10 where we're creating new leaders. But we also need to hold our pastors, reverends, whatever. We need to hold them accountable, because they need to be out here speaking to the people as well, to inform them what is going on.
So Cheryl, I agree with you. But one thing that I don't agree is the way we train our next leaders. See, I believe leadership is something that's in you. Either you have it or you don't have it. I think when we try to train leaders, sometimes this is where the disconnect is. Because again, I'm watching these next generation of people who are coming under these very elders that we are talking about, and they are teaching them the wrong information on how to lead. So we have to break that cycle first. But I agree with you. I'll say it again here. The churches has failed the Black community. Okay, this is why the number of people attending churches are not showing up. Okay, the people in the pulpit.
That's why I left.
Their egos.
Amen.
Okay, their greed. Okay, their politics is what's holding our communities back. You get what I'm saying? And these politicians prey on these people in the pulpit. Okay, to get Black folks to vote some kind of way, and then they don't even deal with them no more.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. See, there's too many backdoor deals getting cut in our community when it comes to the spiritual realm. And this is why leadership is failing and people are moving away. But as people move away, the frustration comes in where they feel like all of the systems are no good, and then they become hopeless. So what we got to do is continue to build the coalition of folks that want to work in solidarity, that want to move the culture and the community forward. You know, and it's going to take a lot of work, but we need leaders like Yolanda. We need leaders like Cheryl to keep calling out these people, standing up. We need more community folks to start picking up the phone, calling their district supervisors, coming to the meetings, getting involved. You know, you can't just go to work every day and say, that's it. Okay, it's all of our jobs, because if not, your family will be the next victim of a failed system. See, nobody in our community wants to do anything until their family is impacted, or somebody they know are impacted by the violence, the poverty, the health. You see what I'm saying? We got to be preventative in our community. We can't just sit here and wait till the egregious acts have taken place. We got to be preventative. Start before. Utilize this time now. We can't worry about next month. We can't worry about next year. We got to worry about every day. How do we collectively impact our community? How do we bring the educational tools to our communities? This is what we have to start planning. I don't know. Maybe we get the young people to come to the senior system and teach the elders how to use the computer. I don't know. Maybe we need shuttle services. Okay, when all those attacks was happening in the Asian community, they had community senior ambassadors. Maybe we need some ambassadors in the Bayview to take our seniors to the bank and walk them to the grocery store and bring them back home. Maybe we're going to need private shuttles to be able to get our elders in groups to where they need to go to do their business and make sure that they are protective by the community folks. They did it in Chinatown. Why they can't do it in the Bayview? Our elders need to be protected. I want to see some of these nonprofit violence prevention, some of these folks, okay, that's getting this funding, help our elders in the community, put together the programs for our community elders so that they can feel comfortable, so that they can feel safe. If we have to buy our own personal shuttles, let's hold the MTA accountable. Let's make them, since they're taking away our routes, since they're taking away the resources that we need, make them take that funding and create shuttles for the community where our elders get door-to-door service. All right. That's the kind of stuff we need to be shouting and screaming about. Not all this foolishness in the community. All right. I need community people to think about that.
John, we don't need to wait for a leader. We've been waiting far too long for a leader to step up. It's time for a revolution by our people. We don't need nobody to lead us. We just need to get out there and do the work. Stop waiting for everyone to do something for us. It's time for us to do it for ourselves.
But our community has been conditioned to waiting on somebody. They waiting on that handout. They waiting on that crutch. So exactly. Just like I agree wholeheartedly. Yes. Deprogramming, dismantling, and taking up arms and doing it ourselves. So just like John, we had the churches who were our go-to as leaders, you know, church and religious driven. We believe in the word and you're going to get us to the promised land and you're going to do all these great things. We have our grandfathers and grandmothers pouring into these churches, retirement, all of their money into their tithes and offering, and those pastors and bishops just lining their pockets. They lost hope. They lost the faith in what the word stood for. Just like some of the nonprofits, lining your pockets with this money and not doing what you said you were going to do, losing focus of what your goal was, of actually rebuilding your community. Like these nonprofits, a lot of these organizations who are violence prevention, I haven't seen not a near one doing any kind of activism in our community like you said you would. You can do the kiss the baby. You can do the, oh, we're starting this program. Oh, about next year it's going to be happening. No, you need to take action. It's not about what you say. It's about what you do. And we don't have any, like you said, it's not about waiting on a savior. It's not about that. We got to save ourselves.
Exactly.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
So let's be strategic in the approach. Let's look at some recent historical examples of when our community had to do this. Right at the throes of Jim Crow, when Black Wall Street was developed. See, there was a time in this country when we couldn't do business with white folks. They didn't want us around. So what we had to do, we had to develop our own systems. We built our own banks. We had our own transportation systems. We had our own grocery situation. So instead of the community reaching out to a Wells Fargo or a Chase, why not find a Black-owned bank? Why not get some real estate? Because here's the thing, we don't own anything in the community. We can't tell nobody nothing about what the community, whatever they own, they can do whatever with. We just tenants, we just rent. We don't own anything. So we have to really be proactive first. Let's get some ownership. Let's have some land we can control. Let's have a banking system we can control. And let's have an agreement. Every Black person in the community is going to bank with the Black bank. And then every person in the community is going to support a Black business. We need somebody that can make shoes. We need somebody that can make underwear. We need somebody who can make just the basic stuff so we can be self-sufficient. Because, and again, as much as we need to be involved in the process because of integration, we have to do the same thing that other communities do in front of us, like the Asian community, where they do business together. You can't go in their neighborhood and set up a business as a Black person. No, not without their permission. We need to have that same sense of community and cooperation amongst ourselves. And we have to be selfish enough to say, okay, we can't be afraid of people calling us racist or whatever, because we need to come together and get our stuff together. So let's start with some practical stuff. Let's get us a Black bank. Let's get them some land and some businesses that we own and control. And then we can start talking about moving the needle forward and having leverage with other people.
Well, you just brought up an important point when you said about Asian community spending money in the Asian community. In the Black community, the dollar goes around one time and it's out the community. Whereas in the Asian community, it circulates 13 times before leaving the community. And so they're very intentional about supporting their community, and we are not.
And that's what we got to change.
So one of the things that I see, do the community want to change in the comments? I think that's a real question, because what I'm seeing in our community right now is very terrible. It's so disheartening. And I have to take this question I ask all the time: is my community people really ready for change? Because when we do have an opportunity to clean up the neighborhood, folks tear it up. We rebuild some of the low income housing, we tear it up. We finally get the potholes in the streets fixed, and then we go and do sideshows. I mean, I just don't know. Sometimes do our community even understand the impact and the harm that we cause to ourselves? We're very fluent to point the finger and place the blame on other entities and systems. But I mean, Black folks, what are we doing? I mean, I think we need to take a pause. And I keep telling everybody, everybody's talking about A to Z. It's no A to Z in our community. Everybody's at Z. Okay, everybody's doing too much. Everybody's just out here wilding out. Ain't nobody paying attention. The adults don't got control. The kids are doing whatever. I think we just need to take a community reset and go back to the basics. I don't know, because I just think we're at a place right now where we're doing more harm to ourselves than we are doing good. I mean, we want to place the blame everywhere. I don't see any accountability in our community on a lot of levels. And it's starting to disturb me, because it's like every time something happens, regardless of what it is, on what political spectrum it's on, Black folks are just reacting. And I'm always thinking, like, where are the people before these things happen? Do we ever look back? Do we ever press rewind in our mind and think back? How did we get here? You get what I'm saying? Like, we just forget. We are so comfortable with just being okay and getting along to get along that we just forget the basic things that we need. And right now, we need a reset in the Black community. We need a reset in D-10. We need to have a real community conversation about what are we doing here, y'all? If we ain't killing each other, we robbing each other. If we ain't robbing each other, we hating on each other. If we ain't hating each other, we ain't supporting each other. I mean, we got a problem that we got to take accountability, because I'm tired of hearing about the white man, the Asian man, the Latin man, and what they doing. And I don't care about money. I think it's something called human-to-human contact and understanding that we need to have in our community. Forget the money. Let's just take the money out of it. How do we engage as Black folks in the community to uplift each other without harming each other? That's where we got to get to, that beginning of building the trust, building the communication, being able to disagree to agree. How do we get there? How do we get the elders in our community that's holding the torch to pass the torch? Trust the young brothers. How do we get that in our community? How do we bridge the gap between our elders and our young people? How do we get out of our egos and our power and get back into loving and uplifting and working in solidarity and pushing each other up so that we can get to the ultimate goal of leaving a legacy, leaving something for our community? Right now, what's going on in our community, it is a terrible legacy in D-10. The very things that our ancestors fought for, our grandmothers and grandfathers fought for, was to have home ownership, was to bring Black businesses to the community, to make sure that the next generation of family members had a head start. Where are we going? We are passing nothing down to our young people but hate, confusion, all of the destruction and toxicity. This is all we bring it to our young people. We're selling our young people drama, you guys. This is why the community is failing. We are selling our community drama and chaos. And now you're seeing the results when kids don't feel love, when they don't feel empowered. When we as adults fail them, the accountability starts with us, the adults. These very parents in our community that allow their kids to do the heinous things that they do, and they turn their eyes on it and they act like it never happened. I see this stuff. I work with these families. I'm in the courts. These mothers, these fathers are lying and covering up the dirty things that their children are doing. And this is okay. And then we wonder why these kids do the devilish things that they do. We got our pastors at these funerals lying to the community, saying these kids is great and they are terrible. When do we challenge our leaders to say, hey, it's okay to be respectful to the family? But when we have the voices in the ears of the young people, we correct them and tell them the real. It's tragic that this baby's in the casket. But this little boy been terrorizing our community. The elders are afraid to move around when this young man is around. Like, when do we have that conversation, community? Like, this is the stuff. If we want to change these statistics and not be the last number in all categories that negatively impacts a culture, community, when do we take accountability? When do we stand up and just say, hey, I'm not doing right to help the overall community? All of our leaders who are not doing their part to uplift and build our community, when do they take accountability? I keep hearing people talking about, I'm holding the resources for a rainy day. This is what I hear all the time. I'm holding on to the resources for a rainy community. Even though it's nice and beautiful outside in our community today, the sun is out. It is raining in our community, okay? There is a storm in the Black community right now. We need the resources. It is the rainy day. Community nonprofit leaders, community business owners, investors, allies. There is a cry in the community right now. We need support. We need resources. If we want to dismantle this violence in our community, if we want to stop these robberies and home invasions, we are going to have to put major resources in our community, okay? And we're going to have to start at the mental health. We got to invest in the mental health. We're going to have to start there first. We got too much trauma, too much anxiety, too much depression, too many hurt people in our community. We cannot move forward until we heal the pain. This is the type of investment. All of my Black psychologists out there, all you clinicians out there, walking around with your head up, talking about your degrees and your doctorate, and I do all of these wonderful things. I need some of you Black clinicians in our community. Our Black people need mental health services. I don't care about your sorority. I don't care about the car you driving. I don't care how many degrees you got. If you have the skill set, I need you in our community. Black therapists, Black social workers. Yes, I'm calling you out. Don't just walk around prancing around. You got a great job. I need some people in my community right now because my Black people need mental health services. I need counselors. I need everybody that's doing this work to step up. Don't just talk about what you're doing. Get involved. Our community needs you, community. Let's do this because I'm tired of this. I just can't take it no more. See, these conversations trigger me because all we have is people walking around talking about how great life is for them, how much traveling they doing, all these great things. But we're not talking about the very dirty thing that's destroying our community. And everybody want to walk around and proud of how educated they are. When the rest of our people is falling by the wayside, shame on you. Our ancestors didn't do that to us. Our ancestors didn't do it to us. Shame on you if your nose is so high in the air, you feel like you don't have to give back, and it's for them to pull up their boots to get there, shame on you. I don't even want to be associated with those type of people in the community. I need some people who have some compassion, some love, some humility. If you say you love Black people, because this is what I hear in my community. Oh, I love Black people. Well, why are you not uplifting the Black people? How could you walk around and not do nothing to help Black people? See, these people that say they love Black people, what community organization are you a part of? What do you do to impact Black people? See, it's not always about money. Sometimes it's a conversation. What are you doing to impact Black people since you love Black people so much? And these people don't have nothing to say because they're disconnected with community. Okay, they are not connected with our community. That's why we can't correct the issues in our community, because they're disconnected. We got these folks who sitting on these committees. We got these folks who run in departments at City Hall. We got people in our community, supervisors. They don't understand the community because they're not connected and they're not invested. And what we need is people in the community to be connected and invested so you can change the narrative. The only way we change the narrative is we connect with the people. Yeah, when you find out the people needs, you can water the plants. The seeds will grow. But if you sitting there knowing that there's seeds in the ground and you're not willing to pour water on it, if you're not willing to nurture it, how do you expect it to grow? I'm just saying, community. Yolanda, I know you have something to say. Give me something, Queen. Can you hear us, Yolanda? Uh-oh, she might have got disconnected. Can y'all hear me? Am I disconnected?
No, I can hear you, Bishop. You coming through loud and clear. And I think one of the things for us as a community is we have to be able to free ourselves first mentally and psychologically, because I don't think we truly have come to grips with the amount of inherited trauma we've had over the last several generations and dealing with the stress of being in the society that we're dealing with now. I'm reminded of how they would train an elephant. When it's a baby, they put the heavy chain on it that it can't break, but as it becomes an adult, then they get it on a little rope that they can lead it around, because they've got the mind of that thing trapped in. They don't realize their true power, and our community is in that same situation. If we honestly could look at ourselves in the mirror and love and respect and appreciate what we see, then we could start to value ourselves and then value each other. We wouldn't just take this stuff laying down, but we're so beat down psychologically that we would rather beg our oppressor to take his foot off our neck a little bit than go through the process of owning our own accountability and freeing ourselves.
Mark, I'm looking for eagles, okay? The best bird in the bird planet is the eagle. See, after so long, the mother will fly the baby eagle around, and they just let the eagle go. You got to fly. You got to flap on your own. See, they teach them early how to survive. Our community has been spoon-fed for too long. See, we got this ideal. Black folks has this theory that we're getting treated better. We're going to align with other cultures and folks. No, community, the reality is the salt. Put the salt back in your mouth. They not going to do this. We got to do this. You're not going to get that fair treatment. That's not what it is, community. We got to stop playing this game, this delusion that everything is okay and we're going to get treated like other people. The delusion in our community has to stop, because this is what's holding us back. Nobody cares about us. As much as you scream and yell doesn't mean nothing. If we're not dismantling systems, or if we're not holding the folks who write these policies accountable, what are we doing? You heard Cheryl Thornton. The only way it works is you got to dismantle the policy. If we're not willing to fight to dismantle the policy, then what are we doing? We're just making noise, community. We ain't changing the narrative. We're just making noise. And this is what they start saying after a while, Mark. They got Black folks figured out, okay? They'll protest and march for a little while, and then things will just simmer out. Every time.
I mean,
yell and scream, and then they recant. They can't do anything.
But that's just like you said. will do the protests, will do the marches. They'll give a little bit and really right back in. Once you get that little inch, then we get comfortable. We're like, oh, great, we got this one thing. It's still a fight. There's still more to handle. We can't get comfortable. Like you said, the egos and the pride is where we lack. That's what got lost in translation. When you put yourself in front of the need and you put the need behind you and that selfish mindset, like you said, it's the mentality. It's our mentality. What happened to the village mindset? No, it's everybody for themselves, right? Until it affects you, right? Then when it affects you, are you willing to be really honest? When are the parents, not even the pastors? I know one pastor, Truckee, that really will do that during he's done it during many funerals. I've seen it myself and heard the stories. So he's not going to get up there and lie about Lil Ray Ray was an angel and he was a scholar. No, y'all know what he was out there doing. When are the parents going to actually be accountable? Yes, we can cry those crocodile tears. Yes, anybody losing a child is hurtful. But where were you in the preventive care? Where were you when they were out there snatching the elders' purses and doing harm to our elders? Where were you? It starts in the home, right? So if you turn a blind eye to what your child is doing, of course you're going to turn a blind eye to what's going on in the community. So once you get your you got your Section 8, now I can move out. You forget all about it, but your child is coming back to the community and wreaking havoc on it. Who are we holding accountable here then? Community leaders only can do so much because even some of them still have that mindset of selfishness. Let me line my pockets. Let me do this little thing. Let me give them an inch and take 10 miles.
Yeah.
Let me cast out and really right back in. So who are we going to actually hold accountable? Ourselves first. Because the parents can't sit there and say it's everybody else. And you've done nothing to do preventive care. You've done nothing to change the narrative in your own household. You know your child coming in with phones and all types of stuff that you ain't paid for. You're not pouring into their education. You're not doing applications with them. So where are they getting the money from? What are they doing? When are you checking them? We talk about these white parents and their kids in the basement building bombs, and our children are out there wreaking havoc, coming home with Glocks and 40s and all this stuff. And you're not checking your own kid's bed. But you can point the finger at who's not doing something with theirs, but you ain't even looking across the hall at your own until something happens, right? Until it hits home, right? Until your child was out there trying to strong arm somebody and gets their life taken in the midst of that. That's when you start saying, oh, where was the community leaders? Oh, we got to make a change. No, let's do the preventive care. I saw someone say, not to be reactive, let's be proactive. It's easy to be defensive when it hits home. How about we play the offense? How about we actually come together and, hey, you know what? My son is doing some things. Won't we do some kind of work like that? What do they do? Those interventions? Won't we do that? Won't we start there? It's great if we have the elders to be able to pour into us and to share their knowledge of what was. But we can utilize the what was to making it to what we need in the present. What was can be what's needed now, and utilizing it for us to be proactive and not reactive, and to wait until it's us that's holding us back. Use that hurt to be helpful, not hinder.
Well, I just want to add to this. Things have happened that were shocking to me here in San Francisco in the Black community. And I thought that people would raise up and want to protest. They don't even protest anymore. They just let it go by. I mean, case in point, when Banko Brown was shot and killed by that security guard down there at Walgreens, I was at City Hall, but there was very few of us up there fighting for justice for Banko Brown. Same thing with Sean, I forget his name, the other person that was killed by the police officer. very few people protesting. We just take it lying down. Like right now, I'm fighting with, about the school district and all these outcomes that are happening with our Black children. I don't have any children in school. I don't get paid to do any of this stuff, but I'm doing it. Very few people that you can get from our community to turn out on a protest and say, no more, we want change. San Francisco, we've just gone to sleep.
But Cheryl, I gotta push back. I gotta push back a little bit here because the young man who was shot by the police last week is my cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And even as my cousin was out of line, Cheryl. When do the community, everybody just want to protest and go after the police? When do we take accountability? This man pointed a gun at the police. This man is not supposed to be in possession of a firearm in broad daylight with kids, children, elders around. He had no business even dealing with the police. They wasn't even dealing with him. He chose to get into something that had nothing to do with him.
Right.
So this is what I'm saying. When do we hold our community accountable? Because I got people on the phone at the town hall meeting, people calling me complaining, oh, John Henry, you got a platform. You should be down there yelling at the police. They killed your cousin. Why would I do that?
Well, I don't think you should.
No, I know. See, there's a time that we call the police out. There's a time when they're wrong and they've crossed their boundaries. That's when the community is there. We got people in our community who are doing things to the police or to anybody in our community. There's consequences for that. We got to be accountable. That's my cousin. It's tragic. No one wants to see their family member gunned down by the hands of a police officer. But the reality is, sometimes in our community, people are dealing with being homicidal and suicidal. The mental health that we're talking about. See, sometimes these people in our community are homicidal and suicidal, and they put themselves in situations because they're trying to get out of their own head. This is why I say the mental health is so important, right? And I tell community this, the people that call me. See, before the police killed my cousin, the system had already shot him 1,000 times. He was already walking dead because the parole system failed him. The probation system failed him. The education system failed him. The community failed him. My family failed him. I failed him. I could have did more. See, I'm not going to point the finger at the police. When I'm going to take accountability, I've tried to talk to my cousin. I've tried to tell him to get together and do the right thing. But sometimes people don't want to hear it. I kind of gave up because I'm the type of person, I want you to get it. I'll keep going and being consistent. But sometimes our adults in the community, I keep telling y'all, are the problems. We got to hold our community accountable. These are the times. So what do I do as a leader, whether it's my family or not? It's to do the right thing. It's not to go protest and go off on the police. They did their job. It's tragic. It's unfortunate. But my cousin put himself in the worst situation that you can as a Black man in that community and being raised by a family who've taught you how to deal with the community. It's no excuse. See, I know this young man, so you can't tell me nothing. I know what he's been taught. And he knows how to deal with himself in the community. And for the community folks that are using the excuse of mental health, yes, he's dealing with some mental health. It's obvious. But he had enough sense to pick up a gun and put it in his pocket. So be careful what excuses you give a person when you're trying to just use mental health. If a person is stable enough in their mind to pick up a firearm when they're not supposed to have one and be out in the public around children in broad daylight, waving a firearm at the police in the community. I'm just saying, community, we got to be real on some things. Sometimes we got to just take the L and say, this is what it is. It's a tough L to take because no one wants to see that because of the past trauma and the things that have happened. But you can't. You got to stand on the right side of what's right. And I will always do that, whether it's my family, your family, because I'm going to be that leader. I'm not going to call out the pastors for not calling out what they're doing and be a hypocrite and say, oh, this is the police problem. No. It's tragic. It hurts. It's my family. But I'm not protesting. I'm not going after the SFPD. If people out there who are lawyers want to say there's other causes and things of that nature, that's fine. You go do that. But I'm not buying into that. Okay. I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to figure out how do we deal with our young people. Okay. Because what I heard on that video of the town hall meeting from the body cams of these officers is terrible. What is wrong with our young people using the language? I get it. They live in the hood. But what is going on with our young people? The amount of disrespect, the foul language, how they treat adults in our community. I don't care if they the police or not. They talk like this around our grandmothers, on the school buses, on the public buses. When do we have a conversation with our young people in the community and to the parents about the behavior of their children in the community? Because what happened on that video was not okay, community. The young people, it is not okay. I'm just telling you, it's not okay. Go ahead, Cheryl. You trying to say something?
And you know,
No, I don't think it was okay what happened in that case, but I do think that this is how it plays out. You know, when you disinvest in the community, and I work in public health, and I can tell you that we're turning away people every day. They need access to medical care, cannot get it, and so they're spiral. I'm not. They get sicker and sicker and sicker until something like this happens. And your cousin, I used to work at Southeast Health Center. I used to see him every morning when he first had those twins, and he was nothing. He was not in the condition that I saw what I saw in that video. So he obviously got worse. And so I don't think that we should defend bad behavior, but I also think that I see times where people here in San Francisco don't stand up when they should stand up, because I guess, you know, they're getting paid by a nonprofit and they don't want to go against the grain. And sometimes we have to go against the grain.
But I think that
I agree with you, Cheryl. Go ahead, Yolanda. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I've spoken with John about this specific incident that happened. And the one thing that John said that rings true is that, but at the same time, family, friends, and others should have also seen some signs of some potential problem. John said he saw it prior to this. There were things that were going on. So again, the accountability, it cannot be one way. We have to all accept accountability. We have to be our brothers and sisters keepers at all times. When we hear young people cursing and being ridiculous and just disrespectful to our elders, we need to check them. We need to check them. We need to stop being so scared of our children. That's the problem. And don't blame the system while you scared of your children. It's your own fault that you got to be scared of your child. I raised my two girls by myself. I whipped them. Yes, I whipped them. And then I gave them the phone and told them to call the police. And if you want to call them, call them. And when they come, they can take you and they can raise you. Because I'm raising you out of love. Because I don't want to see you be destroyed by the system. And this is something as Black parents, we have to remember. It's time is over for timeout. It's about time you take your child on toe to toe and let them know who's in charge. Respect comes first from the home. You can't expect it to be given to people just out there in the streets. It's got to start at home. Oh, somebody else agreeing with me out here. Okay.
That was good, Yolanda, and I agree with you 100%. And I mean, that's just you know, where I stand with it. And you know, I have to take that stance. And I just want to say this to Cheryl Thornton, to everybody that listened, because I heard what she said. I am one of those leaders, believe me. There's never no money that they can give me to stop me uplifting my voice about my people.
Yes.
I'm telling you right now, I've already been told everybody in my organization, I will never let a sponsor me and close my voice about my people and what's going on. But what I will not do is I will not support and uplift BS. Okay. That's not what I'm going to do. So whether it's right or wrong, I'm going to stand up for it. But when it's wrong, I'm not being loud and making noise for things that's wrong. That's not what I'm going to do. I cannot do that. So I will stand on that. You can challenge me, and I promise you, nowhere where I back down. Okay. And just like the young man that was killed on the Walgreens. Okay. I don't know all of the details, but I stayed neutral on this because I understand both sides of that. Okay. And I don't want to see a man lose his family off a kid that, again, our system failed this young man. When you're homeless and you're a teenager, there's supposed to be resources. So this is what I'm talking about, these leaders and these organizations that say they do this work. That young person should not have had to be in that situation stealing from a store. Get what I'm saying? That's just what should not happen because we have too many resources in this city, right? Now, the altercation and what took place, again, goes back to behaviors, the environment, how things go, another tragic situation. But I stayed neutral because I understand both sides of that. And why would I want to see this man, that's trying to do a job, that got a job, get his life taken away from him because someone in our community dealing with mental health, dealing with resources issues, did not get the support. Again, that's the same thing that we try to do with the police. They the last result of this problem of folks when they're going through mental health. Where is the people before that? Where was the homeless teenage programs at? Where was those people at to make sure that young man had soap, deodorant, the things that he need? Where were they at? Because there are programs in this city for that. Where are these people at? And every time this young man went into the store, it was for stealing things. Where are the resources? We have so many coming to the community. Where are they going? So again, it's a lot of work, community. And I know it's so easy to point the finger at other people, but when do we point the finger at ourselves? When do we hold the mirror in our faces, our very faces, and say, hey, I need to do more. I need to get involved. I need to stop being the oppressor. I need to stop being the person that's putting everybody down. I need to stop being the gatekeeper because we have a lot of this in our community. It's more people ego-driven about who's in charge and who the leader than trying to impact the people. See, when you bless the people, it don't matter. The people are going to tell you. I always tell people, I tell them this, Yolanda, look at all of the events that go on around the city. It's a reason why certain people show up to certain people events and certain people don't show up to other events. Because the people know the community leaders that are doing the work and making sure that they're impacting the people. Just pay attention. The people that's touching the Black folks, working with the Black folks, giving them opportunities, uplifting them, they always seem to be loved and appreciated, and people show up. But the ones who don't, you never see them. Their events are just always the other people. Where's your people at?
And when you talk about accountability, it makes me think about the Walgreens that was once located at 3801 3rd Street. Who's responsible for that closure? We are. Why? Because we constantly went in there. We saw people steal. We did nothing about it. We sit there and turned a blind eye. We have a system now, this law where you can't charge people for stealing stuff. And you know what? Who is it going to harm most? It's going to harm us because the businesses we desire in our community are not going to want to come into our communities. And the ones that are there, we're going to run them away. And the young people who are engaged and the adults that are engaged in this type of behavior with a law like this, letting them think that it's okay, they're entitled to do it, sends the wrong message. And when the law finally does come down on you, it's going to come down on you hard, hard, hard. And these are things that I agree with you, John Henry, we have got to hold ourselves accountable for and accept some responsibility.
Wow. I got to ask you this question, Yolanda, because I want to hear your perspective on something, because I know you are retired, and if it's something that you can't speak on, that's fine. But I want to ask you this, because we're always talking about solidarity in the community with the police department. And I know you've been retired for some time, but you have an understanding. What does this solidarity really looks like when it comes to the police in San Francisco? Because it seems to be, I hear all this investment and engaging and trying to do community engagement, but I don't see it. I really don't see it. So to me, I feel like it's more of a performative thing than it is an actual item. But how do we really create this solidarity and have the real conversations with the police, because I want to have some real conversations, but I don't want all of the BS. I don't want the performative stuff. I want to have a real conversation, a raw conversation. It don't have to be vulgar, it don't have to be nasty, but a real conversation about what policing in San Francisco really looks like when it comes to dealing with Black people. And what does that solidarity look like? What is that conversation with the captains and with the chief, and how we function when it comes to interacting with the police? But give me your insight, if you can, on what you think that looks like.
Well, I'm always willing to give my take on stuff. First of all, I worked in community engagement, which was supposed to be centralized. In my opinion, it was a failure. Community engagement needs to be at each district station so that your station officers know you, you know them, and each of you are holding each other accountable. When you get this centralized community engagement, that's taken to a different level, to the point where the people who are leading community engagement, the communities they choose to engage with, don't often look like us, if you know what I mean. The resources don't always come to our community. For example, there was National Night Out just this year, this just last week. I understand that there was no National Night Out in Bernal Heights, where the Army Street projects were. They didn't have a National Night Out, and I know it wasn't one in the Bayview. And they used the excuse that it was because of the officer involved shooting. I had mixed feelings about that, but community engagement is a special type of relationship with people, where you make yourself a little bit more vulnerable. You're a little bit more open to your community. And I'm just not seeing the reality of it. I'm seeing it being used as a buzzword that sounds good. It's a buzzword that generates grants and funds and whatnot to various entities. However, when it comes down to the realness of it, we're still dealing with the same stuff we was dealing with under Greg, sir. I mean, um, if you look at the police force right now, we don't have very many people who look like us wearing that blue uniform. And that was happening for the last 10 years. And I've been calling it out over and over again. But they use the excuses for why they can't find competent Black folks to be officers. Community engagement does not allow you to disenfranchise or marginalize a group of people. It's supposed to make you be more inclusive. And really, John, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing community engagement the way it should be and the way you should feel. You shouldn't fear picking up the phone to call your police officer and say, my child's having a breakdown at this point. Can you come and bring me some help? And then instead of the help being brought that you sought so desperately for your ailing child, suddenly you see your child either in handcuffs, taken away out the home, or suddenly something has happened and your child is injured or dead. That's not what community policing's all about. I'm supposed to be able to walk the streets, and I'm supposed to know you on a first name basis and tell you, hi, how are you doing? And we're supposed to engage in a conversation. We're supposed to have that level of communication with each other. We are too fragmented, and our police department still has not really latched on to what it really means to be engaged with your community in a positive manner.
Can I add something to that?
Go ahead, Drew.
My husband was partners with Yolanda for many years.
Oh, I think she might have broke up.
Yeah, she froze, I think.
Yeah, I think she
Yeah.
froze up. But Yolanda, and I want to say this because I'm glad you brought that up, and that's the question I'm going to ask Tanzania Carter this Thursday. She's coming on our show to do an educational Thursday. But she told me that there's a lot of openings, and they're trying to get black sheriffs down at the sheriff's department. So I'm definitely going to pose that question to her. You know, I always said, you know, the policy needs to be changed. See, the problem with the police is if you have any infractions in the community, if you ever had a misdemeanor or certain things, they say you can't get the job. But sometimes
Exactly.
those are the people that we need in our community that's been there and changed their life. But how do
Amen.
we change that ordinance to give people an opportunity if we really talk about community policing? We talk
All
about
you have
credit.
to
We
all
talk
you
about
have to do,
go
wait
ahead.
a minute. All you have to do is seek to change the charter and also go before the state, Governor Gavin Newsom, and tell him, based upon this new generation and the lifestyle that they uh, have, the qualifications for a police officer are far too challenging, and especially for people who grow up like we do in our communities. So we have to look at it from a more realistic uh viewpoint. I used to work in backgrounds. I'm gonna tell you something, and I can't tell you what the drug policy is, but I can tell you it's totally unreasonable and absolutely ridiculous. Because with the policies the way it is, there will be very few people that can literally stand up to that policy. So we need to make some policy changes.
Can, and again, I'm all for policy changes because we do have to attack these issues at every level. But do you think, as a community, that realistically we've escaped the roots and origins of the policing system in America? Because it started off as slave patrols. So would we even think that they would have a real vested interest in including us in a respectful way? Like, I mean, again, I'm all for every black officer, every politician, but like, let's be real. This whole system was set up to keep us down, and the fact that we may get a few, and please don't take this as an insult, token blacks in positions, you still don't see the policy change. You don't see a spirit change. You don't see an attitude change. They're continuing to use it as a way to keep black and brown and poor people oppressed and in check. How can we actually have any faith in them actually turning a leaf on any of this?
You're absolutely right. The institution of policing was never created to include us. And even to this day, it is not in their interest to make it an easy path for us. As you know, my career, it started off real nice. I thought I was part of a happy blue family. I thought they had my back and they was going to be down for me to the end. But in 2015, when Textgate came out and it showed what the white officers really thought about me, a black woman, and they used all type of language when referring to me and claiming what they were going to do to me, a rude awakening occurred. And then it was only then that my eyes completely opened up and I realized, even when I was in the academy, they were making fun of me because they couldn't understand how a black girl from Potrero Hill could make it into a police academy and have gone to Lowell High School and, oh my God, by chance have been that high on the list to be in the first class on that particular list. Um, a lot of these officers are people who have been bullied when they were younger and when they were kids growing up. So they feel empowered to an extent that they're, for what I'd say, out of control to a certain extent. And there's still that blue wall of silence. It does exist. Don't let nobody lie to you and tell you it's no longer there. I developed a program for SFPD called Not on My Watch for whistleblowers to tell what they were seeing and witnessing when they saw something going wrong. How many of the people who are in uniform report what's going on? Not very many, but you know what they will do? They'll call me and report it to me and want me to take it to where it needs to go to. And I've done that. And because of that, I experienced retaliation for years from 2015 all the way until I retired June 30th of 2022. It never let up. Never. And I
I
was asked
will.
to choose a side, black or blue, by a white sergeant when I was at the rank of sergeant. So that's how dirty and corrupt it is. In their police newspaper, the San Francisco POA, they thought I was a member of Black Lives Matter. So they put an ad in the front of their paper and it said Black Labs Matter. And they had two pictures of two black Labrador retriever dogs. That's how dirty and mean spirited and ornery some of these people are who wear the uniform. And I have to keep it real and tell you, some of them are like that, not all of them, but the ones that are like that, they still continue to wear that uniform and patrol those streets.
Well, sister, I can only imagine what you personally had to endure for your entire career. That has to be acknowledged and respected because, again, without anybody, as they say, inside getting the understanding and learning what's going on, we can't have anybody that can really bring it to us so we can connect it. And I think that's part of one of the bigger cultural issues we face is the disconnect. We need people at every level of society that have our own code with being black, and for them to tell you to your face either choose blue or choose black, it's very clear where the institution stands. And to be put in that situation, I can only imagine the pressure that you felt. And that's why we have to be unified so that whistleblowers and people who stand up can know that the community does genuinely have their back and they're safe. And I mean, again, brothers like John, I honestly, I have a fear because I understand, particularly as a black man who stands up, speaks the truth, and tries to unite people. You don't even have to be overtly violent or militant, but you are a target for attack. And they are well versed at it. Every leader we've ever had has been assassinated or discredited or made to where they had to be live in some type of exile or prison system. And we, even though we see this, we still cannot go to sleep. We still owe it to the coming generations behind us to stand up. So,
and can I say this? I chose black. And let me say this one last thing, because John, I got to get this in. I hope you're not going to get mad at me, but I'm going to say this to you. If you're black and you can legally own a gun, don't you turn your gun in for $100 or a computer. You better try and keep your guns at your home to protect yourself. Because I'll tell you one thing I know for sure. They're teaching their children at 3 and 4. They're at the range. When I'm on a range, they're at the range and they're teaching their children how to shoot. Protect yourselves. Because I'm sorry, a Bible and a knife is not going to go against somebody who storms through your house with a gun.
you told the truth.
Hey, Yolanda, now I don't know why would you ask me, is it okay for you to say that? You know I'm for the empowerment of black people. You know when you see me throwing up the black fist, it's because I'm all about the empowerment of black people. And I agree with you. Yes, we have folks in the community. I still said, they get mad at me about this. I said, we can't do anything about gun control in this country. So why don't we teach the young men in our community how to shoot and be safe? Because if we had safety gun laws and we teach these young people how to use the gun, because they're getting them anyway. All the laws in effect. Every day, a young man's coming to juvenile hall in possession of a firearm. So my thing is this, community. We got to change our mindset. We got to pivot out of this. Oh, guns. Yes, guns kill. But if we start equipping our community and training them how to be safe gun owners and teaching them how to safely handle a firearm, maybe some of this accidental shootings and things will stop happening.
That's right.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out. We've been doing it one way and we're getting the result. Let's try something else and see what the result is. Since these young people are so fascinated with pulling the trigger, because that's what it's all about. It's the fascination. and the adrenaline of pulling the trigger. Why don't we create safe spaces for them to release that adrenaline? I'm
Amen.
just saying. I don't know. They think they get mad at me, but I say we tried it the other way and we have more gun violence than ever. Let's try it the other way. Let's give these young people an opportunity to learn how to discharge a firearm in a safe setting, handle a firearm. Maybe that rush getting it off won't entice them so much to pull the trigger in the community. I don't know.
Amen.
I'm just saying, let's try something different because what we're doing, it ain't working. And when something is not working, we have to be willing to try something else until it works. I'm just saying. But with that being said, I got to get us out of here. It's getting late, and we got to close out for the day. This has been a great conversation. This has been real, and I like this. Thank you and Cheryl for coming here today because I'm going to tell you, we need more of these real conversations in our community. We got to stop tiptoeing around the real issues in our community because we have a lot of them. You guys have called out so many that's going to impact our community. I know Cheryl Thornton been in the front of what's been taking place over the last couple of years. Our babies are going back into these racist institutions, okay? They're going to be teaching our kids this racist systemic issue of education in our being. We need to create our own Saturday schools. We need to create our own hubs so that our young people get the right training. This is our job, community. All my educators out there, all of the people who got this knowledge. Let's start creating programming to impact our community. Let's start impacting our community. We got the money. We got the resources. Let's do it. With that being said, I want to give everybody an opportunity to close out today. Cheryl, we'll start with you. I'll move around Yolanda. Give some parting words to the community. I mean, I know it's gloomy out there, but give the community something encouraging, something to lead them today, Ms. Thornton.
Well, we all can be leaders. You have to reach back and pull forward, and that's what I believe in. I have my son who is 26 years old, and I told him, just because you're going to be an attorney and you made it, you can't make it until you reach back and pull forward. So we all have to reach back and pull forward and stand up and be a leader in our own community.
Wow, very powerful. Well put, as always. Congratulations to your son, young brother. Use your law degree to feed the people. Be the male version of Harriet Tubman. Come help our people. We need help. All right, Miss Yolanda, go ahead and give some parting words to the community. It's been real. It's been honest. It's been needed. Thank you for your vulnerability and your honesty and telling your truth, Queen.
Well, I always believe that it's important to keep it real. Stand for something or you'll fall for anything.
Wow, short and sweet. There you have it, community. I will agree with you. We have to continue to walk in solidarity. We definitely have to do it. And again, we can't be afraid of the unknown. We got to step forward. But thank you, Miss Yolanda, for being here today. Very important. We kept it real like you always do. And we'll continue to march. We got some fights we got to fight over these next couple of months. But I'll be here. Call me. Let's put it together. Let's rally the community. Community, get involved. Pick up the phone. Reach out to your leaders. We need some support. But thank you for being here. And congratulations on your retirement. And continue being that amazing queen you are, pushing forward. We got to keep doing it.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, Brother Mark. There you have it. Another great episode. The dismantling of the systems in D-10. Man, how you feeling today, brother?
Well, as always, this is something I'm passionate about because I love my people. And as a student of history, I understand this is not a new position. We're not the only people to ever face this situation, but we're facing it like no other group of people has ever faced it in history. A couple of things that I think we really need to key in on is we have to be violent because we're at war. And when I say violent, I mean not running out in the streets with guns and knives. I'm talking about violent spiritually, to where we get radical about unifying around our common goals as a people. We need to get violent in how we change our attitudes and our conversations. Black people in particular, let us make a commitment to love, respect, and honor each other in life. If we can just start with simple smiling and acknowledging each other in a respectful way whenever we see. We need to make it safe for Black folks to be around other Black folks no matter where we go. And that's not something we got to petition the system for. That's something we can do. And then we have to be violent economically. As long as we have to go to the system to ask for money, to ask for food, to ask for permission, we will always be a victim. The only way we're going to get our dignity back is if we own something. So let's start being radical about owning land, owning banks, creating our own economic structures, so that when we decide to step back to the table of society, we can negotiate with our heads held high and some respect. That's what I feel, brother.
Wow, very powerful. Thank you, Brother Mark, for always wrapping it up. The voice has gave you his 2 cents. He has spoken. I think that's where we at. That's what we need to do. He's saying that, and I'm saying stay dangerous, my people. We're headed to some crazy times. Stay dangerous. All right. With that being said, Sister Ayo, our co-host, the lovely Ayo, the one, the Jim, give something to the people, Queen.
I've heard a lot of information tonight and still trying to process it and take it all in. D-10 is a district that I grew up in majority of my adolescence, and it has gotten to that bottom of the barrel, and there's only one way to climb up that hill united. We have to dismantle the stereotypes and the statistics against us. We must be responsible for one another, as well as holding ourselves accountable for our part that we play and how we can come to a solution on one accord to make sure that we are processing, rebuilding, and being proactive and getting our community back to its core of love, of making sure everyone is taken care of. There was a time in the Bayview community that everybody looked out for their elders. You can run to the corner store, you can run to the market for them, and the kids is going to bring the money right back. They can find a random child walking down the street and say, baby, I need you to run to the store for me. There was a time that happened. Getting back to those core values and the morals that we instilled in ourselves and making sure that we pass those things on. We've lost the concept of the village. We've lost the understanding of what family is. Starting in your own home, be accountable. Be responsible for what your child is doing. And don't try to turn a blind eye to it, because just because it's not your child today, it can be tomorrow. So let's make sure that we're doing our part in home and within the community to make sure that we are repairing, rebuilding, and setting, pressing reset.
Wow. Thank you, Ayo. What a capture of today's conversation. Very powerful stuff. Community. I don't know about you. I'm moved. I'm inspired. My blood is rushing to the top of the mountains right now. I am ready to go. I need some people that want to step and stand with the bishop, because I'm trying to go all the way up. I'm trying to make a change. I need you out there, community. Walk with me. We got some work to do. I need some solidarity with my community. I need some solidarity with the folks around me. Let's work together and make some real change. Let's make some impact. Time is not on our side right now. So, I'm just going to say this before I give the benediction, because community, we are in tragic times. We need each other more than ever. Anybody I can uplift and support, I will do that. That is what I'm all about, uplifting the people. See, the mission and vision statement of both sides of the conversation, I stand by that. I live it every day. And I will continue to uplift the voices of the community. I will continue to work to help change the narrative and make sure the voices of the people are heard. And this is what this platform did today. The voices of the people have been heard. There's a real issue in community, and that's what happened. The community starts to show up. Everybody's not brave enough to have the conversation. I know it's events going on and people are doing the things. Some people want to come, but listen, we got work to do, community. We can't just party and play. We got to get down to business and get some of this work put in. But with that being said, I'm going to give the benediction because I want us to get out of here safely today. Enjoy some of this great weather. It's some nice weather here in the Bay Area, and there's a lot of events going on, so step out and have a good time. But with that being said, I'm giving a benediction so we can get out of here. Community! Yeah, today has been a great day of communication. We're talking about the Unraveling neighborhood of D-10. Yes, my community, born and raised, still thriving there. When my community is impacted, I have to say something. We are headed into the most troubling times when it comes to this community. When we talk about gentrification, when we talk about the health disparity, the economic disparities, when we talk about the violence in this community, we got a lot of work to do. It is all of us that needs to walk in solidarity. It is the entire community that has to do the work of loving and trusting each other to build out what is needed. Too many times we're pushing away. We're in little silos. We don't want to ignite. We're engaged with each other. We have to change this. It is time to come together to really find out how we can support and uplift each other to make change. There's a narrative shift that needs to happen. There's a paradigm shift that needs to happen in our community. We have schools starting back. We need our community parents, families, community folks to get behind our young people to make sure they have the tools, they have all of the resources needed to get through this racial system that they are dealing with every day. Okay? We need that from our community folks. We know what we have to do, but we have to step into it and be the change makers of our very community. It is tough to see the kids of the community graduate and don't have the knowledge, the skill sets that they need to advance the community, their families forward. Generational wealth and passing legacy is more than just monetary things. It's about the information. It's about the understanding. It's about the humility, the compassion. All of that is part of passing that legacy down. We have to do a better job. There's work to do. We cannot sit around and wait for the system. I heard Mark loudly say that several times today. We are not waiting for someone to come save us. Community, we have to save each other. Stop looking for somebody else to come change the problem. We have to do it. Reach across the aisle to your brothers and sisters. Reach across the aisle to your elected official. Reach across the aisle to people that you don't want to reach across the aisle to. Maybe this is the time that you need to listen and connect before you correct. If you want to change the system, you got to connect with the system to correct the system. You got to get involved. The whole thing that I'm trying to say is you got to get connected. We can correct this. It's going to take more than an entity, more than the bishop, more. It's going to take us all stepping and standing together. That's what it's going to take, community. We are in these times. Community, organizations, if you have resources, open up the doors. Open up the floodgates. We need resources in D-10. I'm looking for all my D-10 organizations. Get out there. Get some resources to the community. Our young people need you. Our elders need you. The community needs support right now. Bring all your resources. Come bearing gifts. Come bearing gifts to the community. They need some support. That's where we at. With that being said, community, our next live show is this Tuesday. We got some hidden gems. Some people in the community that are running business, doing some positive things. I can't wait. I'm excited. I've been out for a couple of weeks. I need to get back and feel some of the joy, watch some of the success that is happening in our community. Every Monday. Oh, is it Monday? Tuesday. I'm losing my mind. See, I haven't been here. Every Tuesday, 7 p.m. The Hidden Gem segment where we highlight Black and brown businesses, uplift community organization, and positive people that are doing amazing things to impact our community. That's every Tuesday. This Thursday, our Educational Thursday, we're going to have Tanzania Carter from the Sheriff's Department. She's going to come on, talk to the community, educate the community, get some Black faces in those spaces. I love it. It should be a great one. We got questions, community. Tune in. Get your questions asked. Y'all always want to know what it's like to apply to be a sheriff. She's going to answer all the questions. Get in the chats. Okay, community. Go in our YouTube. Ask her some questions. How to get in there if you want to be a sheriff. That's what you want to do. Hey, it would be nice to have some people that look like us since we are the highest populated people in all correctional systems. So again, let's have some more people up in there. All right. With that being said, our Sunday conversation next week, we'll be planning getting it out to the community. And we'll be around the community. There's a lot of events going on, community. If you want to be a part of the community upcoming meeting tomorrow, Monday at 5:30 p.m. at the Southeast Center, they will be having a conversation with the police officers and community about the shooting that took place last week. But again, we will be there to be a part of that conversation. Also, there's a number of community events that are taking place this week in the Bayview in D-10. We talk about resources, giving a huge shout out to Be Magic. Okay, they're going to have their backpack giveaway this Saturday at 155 Jenny Street. Please get down there 11 o'clock in the morning. Come get some backpacks. Okay, community, we got to make sure our young people have the pencils, the papers, the resources they need so that they can compete in this racist educational system. We want to make sure that they got the tools, the calculators, and all the stuff that they need. That's happening this Saturday. There's a number of other events that'll be coming up this week. We'll make sure that we share it on our next live podcast. Check out our newsletter. Get on our social media handle at Both Sides of the Conversation. Go to our YouTube. Watch some of these old conversations. Get caught up. Find out where we at. Because we're stepping and standing with the people, okay? Community, thank you all for the continued prayers for my family, for me. I love you, community. It's nothing like the very Black people that I serve. I don't know what it is, something about serving Black people that I just love, because the real ones, the elders, they check on me. Bishop, you all right? What's going on? Did you go see a therapist? They always check on me. I love my people, okay? I know we got some issues as our people, but I love my people. I will always fight for my people, uplift our people. And I get some of the very systems that we're trying to dismantle and change has caused the harm in our community, but I will always stand up and fight for my community, even when it's difficult, even when it's tough. I'm not going to lay down, community, but we have to be truthful, we have to be honest, and we have to stand on the principles. What's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and that's what we have to be on the right side of what's going on. So, with that being said, enough of the bishop. Y'all heard enough of me. Welcome back. I'm here. I know some people, where's the bishop? They kicked the bishop off. No, the bishop is in the community serving the people, okay? I got a lot of events, a lot of things I'm going to be doing on the road. So these two very important people will be holding down the platform, making sure, community, you get the information, you get the education, you get the resource, and most important, we have the conversations. It is needed in our community. To create healing, communication has to happen. Get it off your chest, community. We'll have another great Sunday conversation next week. Looking forward to it. Community, be safe out there, okay? Folks are losing their mind. They are robbing, stealing, bipping cars. Everything is happening. Be careful out there. Protect yourself. Don't be on your phones distracted. Look at who's around you. Pay attention, community. Don't get distracted by the phone, or you might be in a situation alone, okay? All right. With that being said, community, it's been real. Thank you for tuning in today. It's been a great conversation. D-10, my people over there, we got some work together. We got some work to do, y'all. It ain't over. We got to keep fighting and pushing forward. Love y'all. See y'all on Tuesday. Have a great evening, community.
Good night.